Right.
There we go.
Right, right. I mean, it was amazing. You led an awesome campaign. You're definitely a bold progressive. You're not afraid to say what you mean and feel inside. So I've always liked that about your campaign. It's good to see you guys were so close. And like you said, you just got to square around a couple things. Round two, come out there
Sure.
and tweak the couple differences. It seems like Corey had to do that. A couple other
Yeah.
people have had to do that, and
Yeah. We also
round
ended up finding out after the fact, like a couple of days after the fact, as we were going through our data, we found out that one of the companies that we purchased from, because you get phone banking data. Some states have different rules. Some states you can get like a good batch of data directly from the Secretary of State. In Washington State, the Democratic Party controls, their NGP van. They wouldn't allow us to buy into their van. So we had to go through a third company to get voter data. Well, it turned out that a huge batch of our voter data was not good data. We're going to try and figure out how to do that better next time around as well to get better voter data. And we think, if we had that one thing, that was that we had good voter contact data, we think that could have pushed us over
you over the extra 1%.
So hindsight is 2020. So we'll do things better next time around if we choose to do this. And that's discussions that we're having ongoing right now.
Right. Could you tell me a little bit about that? Like, what is one of the things you would say that you would think that you did differently, or you would improve on, or continue to do?
Well, you know what? We were actually in touch with Cori Bush's and Rashida Tlaib's teams on the ground out there, because we wanted to know how, after they won their primaries, okay, what was the deal? And they said, you got to do door knocking. We did not do door knocking because of COVID. We made a conscious campaign choice to, if we go out there and knock doors, we're gonna catch shit for it. People are gonna say, oh, you babe, because none of the campaigns were knocking doors. I think in Washington it was just we are ground zero for COVID. Everybody's well, I shouldn't say everybody, because the right wingers, they're still down at the Capitol protesting lockdowns, but I think just as a legitimate aspect of community safety, we decided that we were not going to do it. We will do door knocking next time. I don't think you can run. That was one of the messages that we got back from Rashida and Cori is you can't run a successful, essentially we're running a challenge campaign as a progressive, somewhat unknown. You can't get your name out there unless you're directly contacting voters at the door. And, even if that's just a matter of knocking on their door, dropping a piece of lit and walking away, and having a conversation from the driveway, that's it. It's still an outreach that we need to figure out how to safely do.
Right there, you go flyering. Doing the flyers, just dropping them in the doors. The flyers,
and it's also we're gonna we need to have better fundraising. I mean, we did everything that we did on about $50,000. You compare that to the $255,000 that Rebecca Parson raised, $250,000 that Joshua Collins raised. Other campaigns raising.
You used your dollars very, very, very well. Let's say that. Let's put it that way. That is very good. Big props on that.
Our cost per vote, right? Our expenditure per vote was extremely minimal. I mean, we got a vote for about a buck and a half, which is really pretty amazing. So if we can come into this with much strong, we can double or triple our vote raising fundraising. If we can get up to 150, 200 grand for this campaign, I believe we can win it.
Wow, that is amazing.
I've got such a great team. I mean, my team, they did it as pretty much all volunteer. But I would like to get them paid. I mean, they're definitely worth paying, of course. Fantastic staff. They're doing it from the goodness of their hearts, and that they believe in the campaign. But this should be paid work. They shouldn't have to do this for free. They're putting in, hundreds of hours, sometimes thousands of hours over the course of the year. It's reasonable that they should get some money for that. But when these giant campaigns, when the big DNC backed campaigns are raising, like my opponent does, $1 million, a lot of that money is going into just like high dollar campaign consultants. Well, I don't want high dollar campaign consultants. I want a reasonable living wage for the people who are working
Right.
for me.
Right.
And we can do that. We can do that on $250,000 for the year. We can get the four or five people who will be working a lot on my campaign, get them paid well, and other people will be doing it piecemeal by volunteer.
Right. Now let's explain something to the people that are watching, just in case they're not familiar with Washington, because things are done a little differently up there. The primary. You want to explain open primary real quick?
Well, yeah, it's a top two. I mean, it is an open primary, but it's a top two primary. Sometimes it's called the jungle primary, same as California, and that means of all the people who are filed, whoever the top two vote getters are, they are going to move on to the general. So our hope was that we would be on the ballots next to the incumbents, that it would be the corporate incumbent Democrat and the progressive challenger, and then the voters of the district get a real choice. The Republicans is something that we didn't figure on this time, and really still is kind of strange to me. Is that the Republican turnout was very high, much higher than expected. The overall primary turnout was really pretty high. It was somewhere around 56%, which is our usual primary turnouts are down in the 30s. So there was a huge primary turnout this year, very unexpected. So we thought that with 6 Republicans filed for this seat, that they were going to split the vote enough. And there was no Senate race in Washington. So Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell, neither of them were up for office. No Senate race. Jay Inslee, governor, running for a third term as governor, beat all of the Republicans who had filed for the governor's seat. We had 3 or 4 top challengers. He beat them all by double digits. So there really wasn't any thought that the Republicans and none of the Republicans who filed, like the guy who won, the guy who got in second place, he's going to get creamed. Larson's going to beat him 2-1. It's not even a real challenge. Larson's going to get reelected
because that district is way more left than it is.
Yeah. It's a D+10 district, so you can expect the congressional Democrat to win this seat by 10 points in any given year. So we really thought that there would be a suppressed Republican voter turnout, because we thought, well, the Republicans really got nobody to vote for. They don't have any credible candidates. Inslee's going to beat all the governor candidates. None of the Republican candidates are really credible to win against Larson. And we thought, and plus there were 6 of them. And so we thought that really worked in our favor for them splitting the vote and being suppressed, and that we had a fairly easy lane to get into that second place spot. The Republicans came out, and our best analysis on this is that they really hate Jay Inslee. They were coming out to vote for their favorite candidate to beat Jay Inslee in the race. It wasn't really anything to do with the candidates in my congressional race. It was the governor's race that brought them out.
And then they just check it because they're sitting there checking the boxes.
Exactly. And a lot of it has to do with this COVID stuff. Like the Republicans in our area here are really upset about the government shutdown. They're protesting on the steps. And this guy who won, the Republican who got the most votes, he was down there in Olympia with the protesters, with his mask off, not social distancing, and yelling at the governor for shutting the economy down here and putting us all under lockdown, which was the right thing to do. I mean, all things considered, Washington State handled the COVID crisis as well as any state in the union did. I'm not a particular fan of Jay Inslee. I wish he wasn't running for a third term, but I will say that our state did handle the COVID crisis.
I feel the same exact way about Kate Brown. I'm not a fan of Kate Brown. I usually, most of the time, I've got something bad to say about what she's doing, but she did pretty well with this COVID. I feel safe. I feel good in Oregon right now.
But the Republicans came out. They came out to vote against Inslee, and our campaign suffered for it. And that was a thing that was out of our control. Had we known in hindsight, maybe there was something we could have done about it, but that was a completely different assessment than the one that we had.
Right. Wow. Crazy. And then there wasn't too many other big wins for you guys in Washington this year. Did you have any good wins?
So the one win, the one that I really do want to highlight here for anybody listening is Washington's 4th congressional district, which is Eastern Washington. Guy called Doug McKinley is running. Solid progressive, supports Medicare for all, supports the Green New Deal. It is a very red district, but he has done a lot. So if you know anything about Eastern Washington right now, we've had a lot of problems with the government response to farm workers. A lot of the immigrant farm workers, people who are here on temporary visas to do the fruit picking and the hop picking, they have been treated extremely poorly. And of course, they're mostly Latino community,
Right.
and they have been treated extremely poorly in the Yakima area, which is the 4th district. And it is a huge agricultural area for Washington State. And the farm workers actually had to go on strike recently over the summer to get the government to force the farm workers to provide them with the protective equipment that they need to keep themselves safe. Yakima County has I don't know the exact comparison, but it's something like 3 times the per capita rate of COVID infection that King County does, which is the Seattle area, or Snohomish County does, which is slightly north of Seattle. And so because the farm workers were really in danger for their lives, and because of their working conditions and their employers not treating them right, they literally had to go on strike. And so the farm workers are not happy with the Trump administration's overall handling of COVID because it has affected them directly. And they are really going to be looking for some different representation. So we have this guy, Dan Newhouse, who is the Republican in Congress right now. His father actively worked against Cesar Chavez.
This is the Republican in the 4th district, is Dan
Newhouse? Republican in the 4th district. So it is. It's a Democrat going against a Republican. So if we can fundraise for Doug McKinley, and I forget his website off the top of my head, but if you look Doug McKinley, Congress, Washington 4, he needs fundraising for radio ads. It's a really, really big district because it's a rural district. But he says if he can get money for radio ads, and he's already done some really good ad buys out there, that's what reaches the Latino community in that area, and he can get them out to the vote. And the Latino community will be the factor. Thanks for that. The Latino community will be the factor in deciding that race in November. So Doug McKinley, 2020.com. Help Doug. He is the only progressive running for Congress right now on the ballot in Washington.
The energy to Doug. All right.
All of the energy in Washington State needs to go for Doug. Yep.
All right. Wonderful. So everybody out there, no Doug. He's still fighting the good fight. He's fighting against a red guy. So we can do this. And now, here's a question: do those farm workers, do they get a vote or no?
Well, a lot of them are citizens. I mean, the Latino population out there is the Latino citizen population out there is about 38%.
Okay.
So there's a lot of migrant workers, but there's a very large, just community population of Latinos in that district. Yeah.
38%, and then you got the friends and the family of that, so like half that. Wow, this is a good race to keep an eye on.
It really is a good race. It really is a good race. But Doug needs some funding, so kick him $5 if you're progressive, and help him get to that money. I had a conversation with him about a week ago, and he said he needed about $20,000 more dollars. If he can get $20,000 funded, it's not bad at all.
No,
he said he can reach the people that he needs to reach.
Yeah, that guy's $20,000, and we got a chance to take someone out, a red guy, out of the seat. That's huge.
Yep. And he's a progressive. That's the real key.
Right. So it's a double win. Exactly.
Yeah. I wouldn't be fighting for that seat if it was just another corporate Democrat. But Doug is not a corporate Democrat.
Right. So this is huge. When you have a progressive running against a Republican, it's a double whammy there. We're changing the seat colors. We got a little more blue there, but we're also taking out corporate, and bringing the bottom up into the picture. Huge. Sweet. What's going on in the news, man? Did you see that little kid that ran up there with the AK and shot everybody? Shot that dude?
Yeah, I've seen all of that. I mean, it's getting wild out there, and I've said before, I'm down for the revolution. I mean, people are here being oppressed. Obviously, the Black community is taking the brunt of this and has done over decades and decades in this country. And of course, all the way back to the inception of this country, we have not atoned for the sin of slavery or the
Right.
genocide of the Native American population here. And I think, you know, I'm not a capitalist. I'm an anti-capitalist, and I think racism is directly tied to capitalism. People aren't born racist; they're taught to be racist, and the capitalist system pits us against each other. So I am all for the fight against capitalism, which encompasses the fight against racism, against the carceral system. My campaign signed on to, and I personally endorse an organization called 10 Demands for Justice. So the website on that is 10forjustice.com. It is subtitled The Road to Abolition. And I certainly believe that we need to end the policing system that we have currently in place. A lot of people freak out about using the terminology defund the police or abolition. And really what we want to have people understand that it is ending policing as we know it. It's not that there aren't ever going to be any police anymore, but it is ending for-profit prisons. It's ending the unnatural relationship between the prosecutor's office and the police, and qualified immunity for the police and prosecutorial immunity, and it goes into legalizing marijuana and other drugs that have been used specifically targeted against minority communities. So
Right.
it's really a huge package of demands that we have to move towards. 10forjustice.com. I'm fully behind it, and those demands are going to increasingly be front and center on our political stage as we move forward, because what's happening in Kenosha is, I think it's just been a long time coming. It was a long time coming before George Floyd, and then we had the Portland protests and the Seattle protests. Portland protests, which, as you know, are ongoing, and people are tired of being oppressed. I mean, that's really what it is. We've gotten to a point where people are tired of being racially and economically oppressed. And in a country like America, we should not be still dealing with this. And it just, it really goes back to the failures of the entire political system that hasn't dealt with racism effectively, and of course an economic system that seeks to oppress people. So you've got that also.
So what would you say to somebody that said, but they shouldn't be out there burning things? They shouldn't be breaking windows. They are the problem.
No, I would say, anytime people have gotten to a point where they feel like they need to riot, that's a failure of government. That's not a failure of people.
Right.
That is a response to a government that has ignored people who have been crying out for help. So now we're not going to cry out for help anymore. We're just going to start breaking shit.
Right.
And maybe that will get your attention. So I totally understand it. And I know there are a lot of people who say, "Oh, you shouldn't engage in violence." Well, our current political system and economic systems are violent. They are inherently violent. So this is a violent response to what is essentially a government that does systemic violence on its people. So. I think we've got to educate people that is the case. And honestly, if you are seeking to put the value of property over the value of human life, you are not down with the revolution.
Well said. Right. Value of life versus property. That's it, man. And that's what it comes down to. So that's the violence.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. If you choose property over life, that's violence.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got some 2 bills with the drug thing. You're saying we got 2 great bills in Oregon now. I'm pretty proud of these. Measure 110 and Measure 109. Measure 110 is to decriminalize all drugs in Oregon.
That's fantastic. We need that.
I mean, the meth problem, we have a huge meth problem down here in Southern Oregon. And they're even going to say, look, you get caught with one of these people on the streets, homeless guy gets caught with a little bit of meth, he's not going to go to jail for it.
Yep.
we're gonna get him some help, or she,
That's
whatever.
it. You need the funding. You need the funding for the treatment rather than to put people in jail. I mean, obviously, if they're on the streets and they're doing meth, they got problems in their lives beyond, what jail is going to help, and maybe some people are even crying out to be in jail because, at least it helps them get off the streets, but that's not what we want.
Right,
We
right,
want to make sure that people are economically and socially supportive, and if that means that we've got to take profits away from billionaires, we got to tax the billionaires some more, so that we can make sure that people's lives are able to be lived with dignity. Then that's what we're going to have to do.
right.
So we're gonna have to keep fighting for it. That's great to hear about Oregon bills.
So happy. And then we got Measure 109, and that is psilocybin therapy, where it's almost like what I would call modern day shamanism, to where they're going to legalize psilocybin, and it's been approved by the FDA now 3 times.
Wow.
And breakthrough therapy. That's the FDA calls it breakthrough therapy.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I guess I was on the cutting edge of this breakthrough therapy 30 years ago.
Right. We're progressives, yo. We're way ahead of our time. But it's good to see they're finally catching up here, because it's huge. And the way they're setting it up, it's going to be really done professionally, very science driven. It's not legalizing this. Measure 109 isn't legalizing any drugs. It's only saying psilocybin therapy with the proper the setting, with the proper person, the administrator. But they're considering everything from like marriage counseling to drug addiction to suicide, all of it.
Yeah.
So
that's great. I mean, I used to do shrooms to get high, but
right. But at the same time, when I first did it, when I was a kid too, I just took them to get high, and then I was like, boing. Oh
yeah, it opens your world up, right? I mean,
there is a God, there is the world. What the heck,
Yeah, it does help you make a lot of connections.
I was not a good kid when I took the mushrooms. I was hanging out with gangsters, doing bad things. Yeah. And as soon as I took those, I was like, went on Dead Tour, changed my life, love, peace.
Oh man, so that's sounds similar to me. I ended up going to tour with the Dead for a couple of years before Jerry died, 93 to 95. So I did. I got into acid and mushrooms probably I guess the first time I took acid was my freshman year in college, and really just opens your world up. Right. Never felt like I was unsafe or on the edge or mentally unstable, or that it affected me in any kind of negative way. And I have to say, it helped me on my journey to being a good progressive.
Exactly. So it's also a healing for the whole community. Like it's healing for the whole world. Let's Congress. Let's have a psilocybin therapy breakthrough session.
Well, I remember back in the day, we would joke about, if we could just get Congress to pass a joint around, I think we could solve a lot of problems.
The joint session.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Funny.
Dude, it's been great having you on today, Jason.
Thank you, Adam.
I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. Washington is a leading example for our country. All you guys up there are united. Most of you guys, there's always battling. We might fight amongst each other, but I promise you this, we burn this shit down if you get us pissed.
I think one of the things that we have to do moving forward, I mean, I've been, there's a lot of candidates I hope run again. I really hope Jen Perelman takes another crack at it. Some people in New York and New Jersey. And some good candidates in Texas and California. I really hope a lot of people decide that they're going to, that they ran a good enough campaign that it's worth doing again, and that then we develop some kind of national progressive solidarity. I don't know if you're going to be joining the Movement for a People's Party convention this Sunday. I will be there. I'm very excited to see what's happening there. I hope we can develop some progressive solidarity moving forward. And I just want to say there's a last thing. What I'm doing remaining in this campaign or remaining in this political season is I'm putting all of my efforts towards the candidates who are still on the ballot. Like later today, I'm going to get on the phones for Jess Scarane out in Delaware. She's running for Senate. And beyond that, I've got my campaign team. We're going to go out to West Virginia for a week in
Nice.
late October. We are fundraising for that. I will post my fundraiser on Twitter.
Sweet.
And about $3,500 will get the 5 of us out there for a full week of working for Paula Jean. For Paula Jean, it's an extremely important Senate seat for us to flip as progressives, because if we can get Paula Jean in, and West Virginia, I don't think people realize that even not too recently, West Virginia was a very blue labor state. And the Republicans have managed to change the message. We want to change that message back. There is an activist spirit. There's a progressive spirit in West Virginia that we need to recapture. And then we don't have to look at Joe Manchin and say, oh, the only way we can win in a state like West Virginia is with a shitty senator like Joe Manchin, who might as well be a Republican. So Paula Jean is extremely important. And the other great thing about West Virginia is that the 3 Democrats on the ballot, because there's only 3 districts in West Virginia, the 3 Democrats on the ballot for the general are all progressive women. All of them support Medicare for all and the Green New Deal.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. So you've got 4 out of 4 congressional seats who are progressive women. And we really and West Virginia, I think, is a critical turning point for progressives. And so I would encourage everybody, pick your races across the street, but really, really look hard at West Virginia, and getting those women out there some good support, some financial support. And like I said, I'm taking my campaign team out there. 5 of us are going to go out there. We're going to knock doors. We're going to transport stuff all over the state for them and do whatever we need them to do in the weeks running up to the November election out there.
Nice. And when are you guys trying to take off for the?
Our date is October 19th. We've fundraised enough to buy 5 plane tickets for us now. The rest of the fundraising needs to go towards we're gonna have to rent a couple of cars while we're out there. Car rental is cheap for a week. Airbnb is cheap for a week. And our food out there, and that's it. So we figure $3,500 will cover all of us for travel, lodging, and food for an entire
We'll help throw that message around, get those fundraisers up. We'll help you do that, the whole thing. And maybe we'll have you on again before then, and we can try to do a fundraiser thing. Yeah, sweet.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I screwed up and I posted this to my profile. I don't know why that happened, but I'm going to take it and move it over at like 3 or 4 over to the Progress Media page.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.